Yo, what are you doing right now? We are going to get real about men's issues, who Jesus is, and who we are as men in Christ. We're going to hear Trey, Jeremy, Michael, and Brad break it down. These guys call themselves the Cussin Christians. All right, guys, what is going on?
Switch. I hear there's a lot of money in making cleaning houses right now.
That's right.
If you're good at cleaning toilets,
That's right. That's
an
right.
option.
I don't get any money
What's
for
your
it.
wife's company's name again?
Time to spare cleaning.
Time to spare.
Time to
I don't
spare.
get paid
We'll
for
clean so you have time to spare.
Oh, that's cool.
She's
Marketing genius
she's a
right
stud,
there.
man.
What
She's
a
a stud.
tagline, man.
Who doesn't want some time to spare, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I thought it said time
she's
to
a stud.
despair.
Dude, was that
It's like, I got time. I'm going to despair. What do I do?
time to despair? It's like I saw this joke the other day. It said, getting kissed while you're asleep is the purest form of love unless you're in prison.
Nice.
that's funny.
Hey, did your son really get a bear? Or
Both
was
of
he-
them.
I
Both
thought,
of them.
I thought
Silas
that,
and
I
Layton
thought that was
killed
like
a
at
bear.
a park where you could walk up and hug the bear and get a picture.
Yeah,
that was
they both
real.
got one. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
my
black
God.
bears. Yeah.
What? Wait, did I hear you right? Not a beer, a bear.
bear.
Both,
Oh, yeah,
both
they-
boys killed black bears. Yeah.
In Alaska, right?
Oh, they killed one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I believe it, though, because I was going to get one of my
Right.
alligator stuffed.
Oh, yeah.
My 11-footer.
Alligator's even more
I was going to get the
expensive.
rug made out of
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's on the wall.
Yeah, but you can't
It
make
was-
love on
it
an
was
alligator
$7
rug.
grand.
Alligator rugs are nice.
That would hurt.
Oh, it would be rough. Yeah.
What's bear hunting like, dude? Is it like deer hunting where you go stalk them? What do you?
No, it's similar. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but it's similar to the way we do it is similar to deer hunting, where you're kind of watching and waiting.
Yeah.
You're not going after them.
There's
brown-
really bait, like barrels and stuff.
There's brown bears where we are too.
I mean, how...
I've done it a bunch.
Yeah.
I've done it a bunch. It's the first one for the boys, but I've hunted up there for, I don't know, 15 years now. In fact, when I was I may have been a freshman in college, my dad sent my brother and I up there for 2 weeks, just the two of
Just
us.
the two of you?
Bear hunting.
That's a memory, wasn't it?
Oh my gosh. To fast forward the story, we saw so many bears. We called, it was a 14-day trip. We called on day 12, and this black bear started fighting the brown bears right 100 yards from my brother and I. This black bear was a stud, big male, and we're like, that's our bear. So I shoot him, and he runs off about 75 yards into the tall grass, and we get on the four-wheeler after a while, and we go kind of towards where we thought he was, and this brown bear stands up like 25 yards from us. We got back to the cabin as fast as we could.
Lock the door.
We called, and we said, we got to come home. We can't do this. We can't do this. Our nerves were shot. So the trip ended early,
Wow.
and we went home.
Did you get the bear at least? Did you get back up?
Well, I got the skull from that bear. Yeah.
Was that your dad teaching you guys how to pray?
I guess there was a lot of lessons in that.
My bear story, we were trout fishing in West Virginia, Cranberry Glades, and we had a mama bear and some cubs.
Yeah, you get in trouble there.
And literally, she walked on one side of the creek, and I was on the other side of the creek with my fly rod, and that's all I had. And she's just walking with us all the way down the creek. I mean, we're miles back in there. And just finally, eventually, she just went up in there. But I just remember
when you
being
get around the mamas.
I'm not in a good spot.
Right,
Like,
right. That's where it can get real dangerous real quick.
Well, this is I've been wanting Clint to join us for a long time. You were so gracious in giving testimony for the Matthew West event last month, dude, and
love
it was cool seeing your face. We've been wanting. Well, look, first off, last week we really got into, and I had a conversation over dinner last night talking about last week's podcast about how pastors point fingers at each other.
Yeah.
And with the death of John MacArthur and a lot of that stuff that was going on, and it was people who I was with last night was like, God, what y'all said is so true. Like, how many times do I walk out of a church and instead of saying, man, Jesus was alive in that church, I always go, Clint's message kind of sucked today.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to grade my pastor based on the
I will
words
say I've never heard your message suck.
I never
Yours were
heard
always
either.
my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A+.
I copied most of them.
I know. But Clint Nowery's joining us. It just stirred something in me. Excuse me. I want to talk about pastors today.
Yeah.
And you have been a pastor on a roller coaster of amazing highs and amazing lows.
Mm-hmm.
And the struggles that pastors go through, and then how, the book of Acts is all about the gathering of us like this and edifying each other in Christ. And somewhere, somehow, some way, from when the apostles were going out spreading the word, we time in the world, we went from these small gatherings and edifying Jesus to really putting a man on a pedestal, on a stage,
Sure,
or behind the pulpit, right, And I had some thoughts. I wanted to the challenges that pastors face, the struggles that they have. There's a lot of things you hide or can hide in putting on a mask that people just don't understand. The burnout, the isolation, the depression, or the difficulties to your personal lives, your marriages, what you go through.
Sure.
I just kind of want to open that up, and I think it's really important for people that are listening. And it's not, you've been lead pastor at a gigantic church in Georgia, a pastor at a very large church in Florida. These struggles, maybe expectations placed on pastors that are probably unrealistic that we put on you, things like that. I wanted to just kind of explore the heart of, you and everything else. So, and just pastors in general, and how the Western culture has created this person up there on a stage. So, Clint, welcome to joining us on the Cussin Christian today. And your cap,
thanks for having me, guys.
Your cap fits beautifully.
Yes,
so.
I wore it just for you guys.
I knew you would.
Fits my personality pretty well. Trey, like you said, I was I've been pastor for 20 plus years.
Right.
Started in college with 10, 12 kids in my youth group. I had middle schoolers and high schoolers, and I hated the middle schoolers. They were a pain in the butt, and thought the high schoolers were fun. And then middle school pastor for 12 years. Probably my most fun job was that season. Lead pastor for a season, and then, like you said, I was executive pastor for about 7 years. Right. So I've kind of experienced the multiple roles.
And your journey, starting with the middle, is very typical of pastorship.
Right.
And, coming out of seminary, and let's start them with the kids and work them way up to the adults.
That's usually how it works. Why
did you want to be a pastor to start with?
Well, I was a pastor's kid, and I looked at mom and dad and the church and the influence, and I admired that. I think the journey I was on, my dad was a very influential guy in South Florida, and I saw that and thought, not in hey, I can't wait to be the man, but in a, man, he's making this, God's using him to make a difference. Right. And I just thought, wow, how cool. That's what I want to do. So that kind of started the journey for me. I mean, it wasn't quite that simple. I didn't just jump into it. Spent a lot of time processing, making sure that's what I want to do, really trying to discover if that's what God wanted me to do, which is another conversation, for maybe another time, of how to figure that out and how all of that works. But I went to college, got a marketing degree, and then went to seminary after that, and then jumped in. I was actually doing seminary while working at the church, so I did kind of a dual enrollment type thing.
Yeah. We've known a lot of pastors over the years, and we've kind of gotten a glimpse behind the curtain, like what they deal with. Members are never happy. They have to deal with emails, all that kind of stuff. Growing up with a dad as a pastor, did you see that side of it, or did he handle it so well that he just kind of he protected you from seeing that?
I didn't see much of that. I didn't. And by the time I was old enough to really recognize it, he wasn't pastoring. He had moved into a different, career path. And so, it's a good question, Brad. I think the overwhelming majority of my experience in terms of seeing my dad as a pastor was good.
Okay.
As a kid, which was naive, very naive. But yeah, that was my experience, and probably one of the reasons I ended up doing it.
Wanted to do it,
yeah,
sure,
yeah,
because I've heard some guys say, they were in pastoring, they got out of it, they said they probably wouldn't go back, just because again, you deal with so many headaches, so many difficult problem people. I think unless you're really called to do it, it's got to be. I don't think people can just do it because they want to be on stage.
No, I think there's a. You might, the way social media sets things up, you can quickly get an impression that pastors are seeking notoriety. They're seeking a stage.
Yes.
They're seeking voice. They're seeking influence. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that exists. I think social media amplifies that and might give an impression that's not completely accurate. My personal experience, I know very few. I know very few pastors that they start that way, at least. Right. I'm sure they're out there. Mm-hmm. But the pastors I know are not in it for that. They're not about that. They're not interested in that. And I tend to think, just again, that's all I'll speak from today is from my own experiences. I don't think most pastors go into it wanting that.
Sure.
It's an easy, line to cross, but I think, they genuinely want to tell people about Jesus, and things can quickly get sideways. As in my story, can quickly get sideways.
After your journey through the youth ministry, high school ministry, and landing at the big, the mega church type scenario, the responsibilities you had in Georgia. I mean, I want you just to be as candid as you want to be.
Sure.
But you had a defining moment to your detriment. And what you experienced through that, how did you look at yourself, kind of differently on the inside about your calling? And share what you want, but I just...
I can quickly kind of share that story. So I was a pastor for probably 15 years. It was about 15 years. Middle school pastor, and then lead pastor of a big campus, incredible organization. And then, on one, let's see, Tuesday night I'd confess to hiding some secrets to my wife and to my boss, and Thursday morning I'm in rehab. So I went from for all kinds of addiction, but I went from kind of top of the mountain in terms of the church world to complete train wreck.
Right.
And to your point, Trey, I think that's one of the reasons pastors keep things a secret. Because you go from 0 to 100. There's very little in practice. There's very little. Hey, let's work through this. Let's process how we can help you with this. It's you're either great or you're out.
Yeah,
and that's just the reality of the church. That's the reality of the church world. And so, I think there's a lot of reasons why guys hide. There's a lot of reasons why it's hard to share as a pastor. For me, I knew if I'd tried a lot of different things. I'd read all the books. I'd prayed. I'd done the deal. The one thing I hadn't done was told somebody what was going on in my heart,
right,
and the secrets that I was keeping. And one of the reasons for that was because I believed it would wreck my family. It would wreck my my career, my income. as a pastor, what happens, you guys see this, it is so consuming that your friendships, you know, your income, your insurance, your everything, your entire life is surrounded by this job. So if you do something to affect that job, you don't just say, "Oh, okay, I'll go get another job." No, you're literally there's a potential of losing all of it with one strike.
Wow.
And that's I think one of the things that's fairly unique about being a pastor is that everything in your life is connected to your role, and that makes it very difficult to open up.
Yeah, it's like we live here. We call it the Space Coast. You know, you know, we're launching rockets 2 or 3 times a week. We got all these industry giants right in our backyard.
Right.
Those engineers that are developing those vessels to take things into space at 5 o'clock at the end of the day, they shut the door on it and go home.
That's right.
Well, and if one of them has a moral failure, it's just like, oh well, that guy, you know, he can still he can continue in his job, but with a pastor, it's a very public thing.
It's a very
continue in his job, or maybe he has to go get a job at the the place down the street or whatever. But yeah, inside the church, it's a different ballgame, as it in some ways should be.
Yeah, I see where you're going.
As it should be.
Yeah.
But those things, that's one of the factors that kind of pile on into guys just kind of saying, well, I'm not going to open up. I'm not going to. And a lot of times you don't know where that line is. As a pastor, you and I might say, man, yeah, we all do that. We all struggle with that. But as a pastor, you don't know where's the line of what I do versus what other guys are doing that might get me fired versus saying, hey, let's talk about that and work through it.
Yeah. Just the judgment from people in the congregation, because Christians can be cruel, man. And the judgment there, and then walking through the foyer of the church and people look, the shame, and it's like, man, that's got to be an amazing struggle or a burden to have to carry.
You know, I think, Brad, this you kind of mentioned this as well. I think we often, when you're outside of the church world, you might think the voices from the people in the church are the loudest. They're not. That's not one of the harder. Of course, you're going to have people that complain. You're going to have people that, I don't like the sermon, or, you're always going to have that. But pastors are similar. What's the loudest voice that we hear? It's the one in our own head. That's the one that's going to beat you up. And that's the one that's going to cause you to kind of go into hiding. So, yeah, we deal with, complaining and things, but that's not the tough. The tougher moments is when you're dealing with your own shame, your own regret, your own failures, and wondering. That voice in your head says, "Boy, if they found out."
Walking around with that in your brain
constantly,
that's got to wreck you.
It does. It does.
The scariest part of what I'm hearing, though, is that you've been in some big churches, right?
Yeah.
And the pastors that. These are guys that, and I know some of them, obviously, that I'm supposed to go to as a congregation member.
Yeah.
And say, hey, I'm messed up.
Yeah.
But your counterpart, you can't tell that to. And why is that? Why can't I go to, in our group, right, I would go to Trey or Michael or Brad and say, hey, guys, I'm really struggling with, pornography right now.
Yeah.
And it just keeps popping up in my feeds, and it's consuming my thought process. And I want to talk to you about it. And, let me get this off my chest. And let's, can you help me with this? Can you pray with me through this? Can we talk about it? But yet you're standing next to the guys that are supposed to be leading me as a congregation member.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're not talking to them about it.
Yeah.
In fear of what that might do for you.
Well,
and all the aspects you described, right?
Yeah, this is, and I want to be careful to make sure I'm talking about, when you hear me, I'm looking in the mirror on this stuff. This is a, for my own story, I blame no one, and I know that's not what you're saying.
That's not where I'm headed. Yeah.
But I blame no one but myself. At the end of the day, I think Every church has a culture. Every church has a culture. We know that. Y'all know that. Every podcast has a culture. Every restaurant has a. Everywhere you go, there's a way things work. There's a way. This is how things operate. And there are churches that absolutely create places where you can be open, you can be honest with each other, and then there are places where that's not done, and that's not, for whatever reason, it's not allowed. It's not talked about. But I think it's important to see pastors, ministry leaders, as they're just normal guys, just like you and I, and to see them differently. I think that's where you get in trouble, because when all of a sudden we start to see them as better than us,
right,
then it can that creates a dangerous situation on both sides of the coin.
In your case. You went from Tuesday being pastor of church, Thursday in rehab.
Yeah.
Looking back at that, is there a way that they could have kept you on as a pastor and you rehab?
No.
I mean, because we talk about this and we're like, oh, this is so unfair, but pastors have to be held to a higher standard.
Absolutely.
So where's the line? Like, is there a scenario where you could have been rehabbed at that same church and come back and pastored again? Would it have taken a year? I mean, what would that have looked like?
Yeah, great question. I think. First of all, we're talking about a scenario where, this wasn't a fender bender for me, right? The train was off the track and on fire, and in pieces. I think the way that I could have looking back, obviously, I've spent a lot of time processing through what would I have done differently, what could I have done differently. Creates a lot of regret, creates a lot of shame. The end of the day, we, to have shared, this started for me in college, where I didn't tell people what was going on in my life. That's one of the things I love about what you guys are doing, is you create this environment where it's like, yeah, we'll talk about things, we'll talk about our own crap. I didn't do that. I just didn't do it. And so could I have been rehabbed to the point where no, could not have happened. It was such a broad, I had so, it was very public. No. And you're not always thinking clearly when you're in trauma like that. Yeah. I remember going to my boss and saying, man, I love this place. Let me sweep the floors. And, I didn't understand why he wouldn't let me do that. And now I look back and say, oh my gosh, of course. Yeah. Of course he didn't let me do that. I do think, and one of the things I have a tremendous appreciation for was the way that I was handled and my family was handled in that scenario. I think churches a lot of times aren't equipped to handle train wrecks, as weird as that might sound, especially when it's their own.
That sounds bizarre.
Especially when it's their own. Right. Especially when it's their own. They don't know what to do.
Right.
And so I have learned just the relational side, unfortunately through my own experience of how you can handle it relationally well and say, hey, man, we love you. Yeah. We're going to help you. But you can't be here anymore. You can't work here anymore. And that's it wasn't perfect. But looking back, that's how it was handled. And I'm so grateful for that, because it created really what you're trying to do there is you want to create a if you're ultimately saying, hey, we're on a church staff, we're in this together, and this guy's one of us, and then this guy needs to leave or this gal needs to leave. Ultimately, what you want to do is you want to create an exit ramp. And you want to pave that as much as you can, as much as you might be hurt or frustrated or pissed off. At the end of the day, don't we want to be the kind of guys who want to create paved exit ramps for people when they gotta leave? You can just throw them out of the car and say walk, or you can create this exit ramp that helps them transition into whatever their next thing might be, because you love them, because you care for them, because ultimately that's
the
who
definition
you are.
of grace right there.
That's what grace looks like in this scenario. I think is you're not just giving them multiple chances, but you're also saying when that time comes, when there's an organizational decision, we're going to create a paved exit ramp for you that is ultimately not going to benefit the church at all, but it's going to benefit you.
That's one of the things I love about Impact is just, when Trey started this and I became involved and now we're all involved, is we don't point fingers at guys. We're like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Tell us what's going on. Let us know so that we can bring that into the light and get it handled. Yeah, there are going to be consequences of that behavior. You bet. We've all experienced it. And one of the things that I love about you and when I first met you is just your realness. There was never a facade with you as a pastor. You were always real. And I think you can probably attest to this, and that is going through those things and having to be your sin is open for everybody to see and watch.
Yeah,
it got you to a point, and you didn't bolt. I believe somewhere you found grace from people, obviously from the Lord. That's the ultimate, and it helped you become real, and you weren't desensitized to the walk, the normal man walk that goes through all these struggles that are normal for most people.
Yeah. I'm grateful. As weird as it might sound, I look back at that season of my life. It's been 10 years. 10 years ago, I just kind of put that together. But I look back at that train wreck and I'm not grateful for the damage. I'm not grateful for the, of course, if I could do it over again, there's part of me that would say, yeah, let's redo that. But then I also have this, I'm at the place where I'm like, man, that's made me who I am. And I can sit across the table from a guy and not, one of my favorite guys says, not blink, I can be a non-blinking friend. And I don't think you can do that unless you've been through some stuff, unless you're limping, you don't really know what it's like to limp and look at a guy and say, yeah, I get it.
No, I talk about it all the time. And, some of my favorite pastors and favorite people in the ministry aren't preachers' kids, no offense.
Sure.
Because they've gone through something.
Yeah.
You get all these preachers' kids that they live the perfect life and they've always been the perfect life.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, when I talk about what I went through.
Yeah.
You never did that. You didn't go through what I went through.
Right.
So you have no idea.
Right.
So thanks for the advice, but you've never done it.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
And,
you haven't walked this road.
Yeah. So there's something about that brings a genuineness to the conversation. When I talk to Michael and we talk about anger and being pissed off or whatever the conversation we're having, like all of a sudden, I know Michael knows what I'm talking about because he's done it, right?
Yep.
Like he's been there.
Yep.
And he can give me true advice. Whereas you talk to some pastors and it's like, man, like you've never sinned, so how the hell do you know what the hell I'm doing?
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think unfortunately it's easy to give that impression. There is no, and I know you know this, there's no pastor who hasn't sinned. There's just guys who portray that.
Correct, yeah.
And that's what creates a wall.
That mask.
It's a mask.
That's a John Lynch thing.
Yeah, it's a mask.
Well, I don't want to talk to him, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to talk
creates
to you.
a wall.
Like, I know you're judging me because you've never had that
Right.
deal,
Right when we became a non-for-profit and when we were
Which,
doing,
by the way, if you want to donate, we'd love it.
yeah,
There you go.
click.
Like and
No,
subscribe and share.
but it was right when we became kind of official.
Yep.
I wasn't just a small group in my living room.
Yep.
Like the first 3 or 4 years. This is 2020, and we created the website and we created the Brotherhood support page, and we were like doing some social media. One of the first inquiries that I received saying, Trey, my name is John. Can we talk?
Yeah.
And he gave me his number, and we talked, and he goes, I don't even know where to begin. I don't know who I can go to. I just know I can't go to anybody around me. Mm-hmm. He said, this guy's a pastor in Texas, a large church, probably 2,000 to 3,000 people a week, and his wife was an executive, and she traveled a lot. And I guess things were kind of awry. And every time she leave to go travel, he would go to the computer screen and click on porn. and it was eating at him so much. But he knew, he goes, I got nobody to talk to about this. You said in your deal you looked at porn before, and I'm going, well, talk to me. But inside of me, I'm going, how sad he can't talk to anyone in his church about the struggle he's going through. Right? Yeah. Who do pastors have to really turn to? I'm Joe Schmo. I don't have a seminary degree. I don't have any of that. Yeah. And you got a pastor, and I set a game plan with him. Right. I just said, whenever she's going out of town, you send me a note. Yeah. And I'll be there for you. Yeah. And I'm 1,500 miles away from you. Right. But I'll be there for you. Right. And sure enough, the next week, I'm going into a restaurant in Vero Beach with a few people, and my phone buzzes, and it's him on the phone, and it's 6:00, and I said, "Hey, brother, what's going on?" He goes, "Just want to let you know my wife just got on the plane and is flying out." And I said, "All right, are you okay?" He goes, "I am, because I'm calling you." Yeah. And I said, if you even think about going there tonight and clicking on the computer screen, call me. Yeah. I don't care what time it is. Yeah. I couldn't wait. All night long, I'm sitting there just looking at my phone, waiting. Right. And the next morning, I couldn't stand it. And I just, 7:30, are you up? And he goes, yeah. And I called him, and I said, well, what happened? He goes, it's crazy. I said, what? And he said, it released me because you knew. Right. And I said, you made it through the night okay? Not only did I make it through the night okay, but I prayed as soon as I hung him up from you, and a few minutes later, there was a knock on my door, and it was my son who had wings, and we watched Monday Night Football together, and I went to bed. And I'm like, why didn't he have someone in his local area that he could go to with this? Sure. I know it's a long story, but I share that because I think about you. Yep. You had nobody to go to.
Well, I think for me, if I'm honest, there was plenty of people to go to. I was scared. Yeah. I was scared I was scared of the consequence. I was scared of the repercussions. I was downplaying. I think we all probably do that to some level. I was downplaying. I can handle this. I can do this. I'm all right. I'm at least I'm not doing this, Oh, yeah. And that's where I think we, with different, in my story, in my case, with different addictions, you can do things privately that are, if it had been alcohol or if it had been some kind of drugs, hey, we recognize that guy. What's he doing? But when you can do something privately that nobody knows about, it just grows and grows and grows and grows, and to the point where you cannot control it. That's one of the definitions of addiction is doing something that is going to cause you and your family harm, and you do it anyways. Mm-hmm. And you can't stop yourself. And that's like, oof, I didn't know anything about addiction or all that. They didn't teach me that stuff in seminary, So when I end up in rehab, I'm thinking, wow, this life is over. Life is over. My marriage is over. My career is over. My friendships, everything. And in some ways, some of that stuff, I certainly don't want to give a wrong impression. Some of that stuff did happen. Some of those things I was worried about, that's exactly what happened and what I was afraid of. But on the other side of it, what I didn't know was the grace that I would experience from my wife. And ultimately, that's what allowed me to experience grace from God. And one of the things, Trey, you and I have talked about is, hearing that grace and what is it? How do you receive that? What does that feel like? Yeah. How do you know? And it was actually in rehab. I'm sitting in rehab when I realized, this grace that I had taught for years and years and years, I just couldn't believe with my own heart that it was for me. It was like God said, no, this is especially for you, This is especially for you. And that's what it took, as crazy as it sounds, that's what it took for me to understand it and accept it. And which is another reason why I'm grateful, as weird as it sounds, that I walked through what I did, because my relationship with God just flipped on its head. And the way I talked to people about God changed completely as well.
What I love about your story is that your wife did extend grace,
Yeah.
but you returned to pastoring again at
Yeah.
a very high level. And
Yeah.
the church, knowing what you went through, a church
Yeah.
hired you again.
Yep.
And
Yep.
you were able, God was able to use you in that ministry again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. Most churches, I don't think would.
Unusual.
It is unusual.
It was unusual. I am forever grateful, and I've communicated that. I'm forever grateful for the opportunity to do that, because I actually had a guy pretty early on after getting out of rehab say, Clint, this is the kiss of death for pastors, and man, that hurt. People don't know what to say, what to do. But yeah, somebody took a chance on me, and I'm grateful for that, for that season. And really, that was kind of one of the things I was talking about earlier, where you're creating paths for people to heal and grow, and that they did that for my family. So it was a big deal for me, for sure, and for us.
Yeah.
You made a point. I think you were in a pit.
Yeah.
And how do you describe that with your wife? That's amazing.
Yeah, we. So the program I was in is a 3-month program. Inpatient, no. I mean, man, it was awful. Most people don't know what rehab's like, and they hear stories or whatever. I didn't know what it was like, and so I'm in there with these guys, and I'm thinking, what have I done? Like, this is not. I'm in the wrong place. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know how we all tend to think a little more highly of ourselves than we should.
Yeah.
Guilty. I'm thinking these are bad dudes, and then a couple days in, it's like, oh, I'm a bad dude too. It's like, oh, jeez. So that wasn't a fun day. So I'm in rehab, and there's the place that I went to was incredible, but there's no phone, there's no computer, there's no TV, there's no radio, there's no newspaper, there's no magazines, there is zero. You get zero relief from what you're walking through, and they did that very intentionally.
Sure. This wasn't during football season.
It was during football season. One of the nights.
Imagine.
One of the
Hey,
nights.
can we wait about 3 months before I go to rehab?
So get this. So this was the end of January when I went in, and so they're in the Super Bowl. I'm in rehab. I don't even remember who was playing. But
wasn't Dallas.
Yeah, that's true. We can say that with confidence. So I'm in there, and you get they essentially want you to sit they want you to be able to look it in the eye, right? You got to look in the eye what you've done and who you are and who you've become. And so they're not going to give you we often don't think of it this way, but the stuff we do with our phone, even reading social media, or I'm going to go, on Amazon and shop, or I'm going to watch a football game or whatever. If we're not careful, those things turn into distractions from life. Right. And that's
not in my life.
I've not
got social media completely under control.
No, it's all under control here.
Bonafide Florida idiot.
This is why
You
we're
don't need to
here.
follow him because he's on the bottom of every reel there is.
So it's why we're here, is because the 5 of us have it figured out.
Yeah,
So if
exactly.
you're listening to this, take us, as examples. But they don't want you to create any distractions. They want you to look at what you did and process that. And they're going to walk this place. They had just these great people that are going to walk me through what I've made of my life. And so I describe it as this big, huge pile of shit, is the way I describe it. And then it's like, now you go sit in it. Oh. And you think that's tough. But the truth is, I think that's probably one of the best things they could have done for me is to help me realize who I had become and what I'd done and the damage I'd caused. And so you're there, and you're just dealing with it, and you're just processing it, and you're overwhelmed by it. And as I think about the kind of to your point, Michael, the pit that I was in is this idea of I'd seen other people. you start to become friends and build relationships. You're with these guys 24/7 in rehab with you. And you see how they interact, you see what they're doing, and you watch, you're observing, and their spouses and their girlfriends and these kinds of things. Most of them were like, I'm out of here, understandably so. And then, some of them I would watch, and it would be like these guys we're all in this pit together, and their spouse, and this is all just kind of a picture in my mind, but their spouse might come to the edge of the pit and say, hey, when you figure out how to get out of there, maybe then we'll talk. Fair enough. I don't, that was the best case scenario. And what I experienced from my wife was kind of climbing down in that pit with me and grabbing my hand and saying, how are we going to get out of here? And my gosh, and understand, this wasn't week 1. This is week 9, right? So this isn't like, Michael, I think you said something earlier about, this wasn't a rushed through, bolt out of here. No, you're doing intense work, heavy work, all day counseling and learning about addiction. And, 5 days a week, I'm a 35-year-old guy in school. Mm-hmm. And it sucks, and I'm learning this stuff, and I'm realizing why I was doing what I was doing and the decisions I was making. So you're looking at all that, and you get to a place where you're like, yeah, this is going to be a journey, not a fun one. And then, the way I describe the grace that I saw from my wife was like, I'm for you, and how are we going to get out of here?
That's amazing.
And get down in that pit with me, and I'm like, wait a second. If my wife will do that, that's that turning point for me when I started to realize, maybe God's doing that with me too. And I kind of started to kind of process what that might look like. So, yeah, that experience was a turning point for me, for sure.
You mentioned in the interviews that we did for the Matthew West concert, you mentioned that you felt like God was looking at you and just saying, what a disappointment.
Yeah.
I think we've all felt that. Like when we've failed and we're in a pit, it's like, how could God possibly be pleased with me right now? I'm not doing this right. I'm not doing that right.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was, I don't know. I just think your redemption story is awesome.
Yeah.
And we all benefited from you coming back and pastoring again, because we were all at that church. We all benefited under your ministry. So I just think it's an amazing redemption story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm glad that God brought you there. And,
Thanks.
And so, I don't know, that's just encouragement to anybody else that's out there that's in the pit right now who thinks their life is over. God can still redeem it and still bring you out of it.
And I think that's such an important, when you think about God, whatever's going on in your life, when you think about God and picture his face when he's looking at you, what does his face look like? I still wrestle with this to this day, but so many of us think it's this look of disgust because we've heard he's holy and he's perfect. And it's so we, if we're honest with each other, if we're honest with ourselves, we know we are far from it. Mm-hmm. And so you can't help but think, man, he must think I am just, ugh, And one of the things I've learned is that's not true about who God is and his nature. He does not look at us with this look of like he doesn't do that. Mm. And, man, when you can start to wrap your mind around what does God think about when he thinks about me, and you start to think about that in a positive way, it will change the way you interact with God. If you were to hang out with somebody, every time you hung out with them, you're like, this guy's on his phone. He's not paying attention to me. He doesn't like being around me. What are you going to do? Mm-hmm. I don't want to hang out with this guy anymore. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's often how we treat God. Is like, well, if he's disgusted with me, I'm going to avoid him. I'm not going to talk to him. I don't want to be around him because I think he's disappointed in me. But when you start to realize the love that he has for you, regardless of your behavior, all of a sudden it opens that relationship up, and it's not that brick wall we were talking about.
For me, my father had a face that scared the living shit out of me, and it reared its ugly head on quite a few occasions. And I for a long time, saw my Heavenly Father like my earthly father, and it was hard for me to differentiate between the two. So I didn't have a very good relationship with the Lord, even though I was able to speak it and say it and everything else. In some instances, and then some not so much. But like you just said, I finally realized how my Heavenly Father feels about me. And that's our goal, is for every man to realize who they are in Christ. Yeah. And everything else is just water under the bridge. It doesn't matter. God, and somebody told me this once, and I it's kind of a Christian cliche, but it's if you were the only one on earth, Jesus still would have went to the cross for you. Mm-hmm. And so that shows how important I am to him.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think one thing that stood out to me when we first started talking. Trey had me read a book, Bible in Light of Our Redemption, and when I realized that God doesn't see me through the lens prior to Christ,
right?
When you truly invest in Christ and you say, "Hey, I believe in you," the lens that God looks at you through is different now.
Yep.
He doesn't see the sin anymore.
Yep.
So it's a different lens.
Yeah.
It's truly a different picture of who you are. He doesn't see what you did.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to understand.
Yeah. It's hard to wrap your mind around
and
it.
it's really hard to accept.
Yes.
I mean,
and a lot of people think, there's a lot of folks who will say, well, then you're going to take advantage of that. You're going to take advantage of that.
That's a whole podcast.
And I was just talking to my kids about this the other day. We were sitting around the dinner table, and I said, let me ask you guys a question. I said, if mom and dad are generous with you, and we, are doing this and we're doing that and we're doing, helping you and, what's your natural reaction going to be towards us? What's your feeling towards us going to be? Are you just going to want to take advantage of that and just run with it and say, well, if mom's always going to make my bed, I think, of course, there are probably some kids who might do that. But by and large, the majority of them are going to say, man, this is awesome. Thank you. I want to, it creates this, I want to lean in to mom and dad. And I think a lot of guys get that wrong, where they worry about, whoa, you're going to take advantage of grace. You're going to run over it. And my experience has been, when you really wrap your mind around grace, it creates gratitude. It creates the opposite of just, like Paul's talking about, you want to keep on sinning. No. Yeah. When you interact with genuine grace, that's the last thing that you want to do. And so, Jeremy, to your point, when you think about, when you really see what God has done for you, what does that do? It causes you to want to lean in.
Oh, and when you find yourself pulling away, it's because
Yep.
It's not that you don't know that you're still saved.
Right.
You start withdrawing because you're letting your father down.
What I would say is, in your mind, you shifted in that moment, and the face of God changed in your mind. Mm-hmm. And you think you're letting God down. Oh man. He just went from smiling at me to frustrated at me. What are you going to do when you see that? You're going to run away.
Exactly.
And so when we can picture, and it's so hard, but when we picture the smile on God's face, regardless of our behavior, the smile is because of Jesus. When we remember that, regardless of our behavior, it causes us to lean in. That's been my experience.
Well, in your experience, and you and I've talked about it numerous times over the years.
Yeah.
You would preach about grace from the stage,
absolutely,
or talk to people, but you never fully grasped that.
I didn't grasp it, and I didn't believe it was for me. Right. I was too far gone. If people only knew.
Right. So you're 15 years into your career, as a pastor.
That's right.
And I want to emphasize this.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
You didn't really think grace was for you.
That's right. That's right. I couldn't.
It couldn't be that simple. Or what was it?
I was too far gone. I was too far gone. I was too. I was a hypocrite. I couldn't control and change my own life. I wanted so badly. One of the reasons I leaned into grace and would talk about it and teach about it is because I wanted so badly for people not to feel what I was feeling. I didn't want people to experience what I was experiencing, so I would lean into, and when I, to the point I made earlier, when I finally experienced that for myself, it changed everything. But yeah, I didn't accept. I couldn't really accept it because I thought there's no way this is not possible. I didn't have a concept of being given something that good when I was that bad.
Do you think that you believed until that point, but you hadn't accepted Christ at that point?
Meaning my relationship with Christ?
Yeah.
No, I believed my relationship with Christ was secure when I was a little kid. Okay. It was all mental health stuff and a block in my mind, and it was all up here. I believed I had asked for forgiveness. Christ was living in me, but my behavior and hiding had gotten to a point where I, basically built a wall. I built the wall myself.
I asked that question for a very specific reason, because people are going to listen to this and they're going to identify with you, and they're going to question their salvation.
Sure,
right? Like am I really saved? Right. I haven't experienced this acceptance of grace.
Yeah.
That's not true.
No,
you can still battle with that.
Absolutely. I still to this day battle with it. I think I'll battle with it. One of the more discouraging things conversations I've had in the last couple of years was talking to a guy that was 70 years old and him telling me about his struggles. And I'm thinking, and this is an incredible guy, what I would describe as a man of God. And I'm thinking, I thought it was going to get easier as I got older. I thought it was going to get easier. But also encouraging to know, man, this guy is chasing after God. He loves God. And I believe all of us will struggle and fight until the day that we die. That's part of what makes us human. They don't just go away.
The things that the Lord has bestowed on me with his love are just truly amazing. One of the things my son said recently, and I don't know if you knew, we were visiting every Major League Baseball stadium in the country. And so Citi Field was our 30th. And in between, we went to Delmonico's in Manhattan for a steak. And my son turned to me and said, "Dad, thanks for giving me or allowing me to order anything on this menu without worrying about it." And I looked at that afterwards, and I remember, thinking, our Father's going to give us $1,000 steak when we have a relationship with him. Not that it was $1,000, but what I'm saying is the things that he bestows on us, even in light of our garbage, will truly set you free to a level that you can't even experience in any other realm, the freedom in Christ is truly amazing. And that's that. Of course, Michael, I'm going to bestow these things upon you. And what you said, before we became Christians, before we were saved, he doesn't even think about that. And even during the process of our walking out our relationship with Christ, our future sins are forgiven. And for me to finally realize that was just freedom in Christ. Total freedom.
It's so funny. The other day, I lost it. There was this moment, and I won't describe it because it doesn't matter. And I remember afterwards being like, "I'm sorry. Thank you for already forgiving me for that." Because if you hadn't, what I mean?
Yeah.
It was that moment of but it was relief, but also apologetic, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. You're already forgiven. You're already forgiven. And when you think of it that way, does that cause you to want to lean in or walk away? I think it causes us to want to lean in.
Yeah, exactly.
And Michael, to your point, so now all of a sudden you bought at Delmonico, what an incredible restaurant. Now all of a sudden is he going to say, "I want to go to that restaurant every meal"? No. He's going to say, "Thanks, Dad," and he's going to lean towards Dad. Right?
Yeah.
Hey, Dad, let me do this. Let me help you with this. What can I do? Maybe one day he's going to be taking you to that place, right? That's what I believe grace. When you genuinely understand grace, it does not cause you to run just wildly with your life. I believe wrapping your mind and heart around grace causes you to lean closer towards your Father.
Unfortunately, I think that's the struggle that we find most people having is they talk about grace.
Right.
they don't know grace.
Right.
Yeah.
Haven't lived it.
They haven't
walked
lived it. And they don't really wrap their head around what it truly means.
Yeah.
And it causes such a distension in the church and in, between Christians. It's like, and it's unfortunate because the one thing we all have because of Jesus is grace.
Yeah.
But we argue about all this crap that doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
You said 15 years into your ministry, you didn't think it was for you.
Right.
But after you fell, you found it. Like it
I didn't have any choice. Yeah, sure did.
Right. But I mean, you experienced it. So
That's
now
right.
you know grace in a different way that you wouldn't have known. I mean, not that, hey, everybody, let's go through the worst trials of your life so you can experience it. We do. That is life.
That's right.
And you wouldn't have known it.
I don't think you can avoid it.
Right.
I don't know anybody that has.
Right.
I know people that pretend they haven't, or that maybe they can compare it to somebody else's life and say, well, it hasn't been that. But in some way, we've all train wrecked our life in one way or another.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I agree. It's when you wrap your mind around genuinely how bad you are, and grace still shows up in your life. It's incredible.
Well, severity of sin is a human thing, not a God thing.
That's right.
God looks at all sin the same. So it doesn't matter if it's just the thought of, oh man, she's really good looking and I'd like to do this with her.
Yeah.
Or if you actually go over and grab her and go do it.
Right.
This is the same in God's eyes.
Well, that's a hot topic that is widely debated in the church. I think it's pretty clear that's the way Jesus describes it in the Sermon on the Mount. But for whatever reason, I think in the church world, we'll say that, but we don't really believe it. We'll say, oh yeah, if you, to your point.
Sometimes I think it's better that I didn't go to seminary because I don't have to think about things that deep. You know what I mean? It's like, you know what?
It's one
sin.
thing.
God can't be in front of it. Therefore, we need Jesus, and there's grace.
Yeah,
Done.
it's one thing to read that, and then it's another thing to believe it, to genuinely believe. No, this is what he was saying here was raising that bar of don't think you're better than anybody else, or don't think you haven't done what anybody else does. If you've even thought it, you're guilty of it. But I that's too uncomfortable, I think, for most guys to really process, especially in the church world. And so it's easier to just
Yeah, let's not be uncomfortable about our salvation. I mean, let's keep that a soft topic.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. There we go. I was waiting. I'm glad to.
As we and we could go on for hours with this. This has just been phenomenal. I wanted to ask, from your heart, from your experience, words of wisdom you could give. Number one, to a pastor.
Yeah.
That's dealing with some of the stuff we've talked about tonight. Who do you turn to? What's the direction of your mind and your spirit if you're struggling as a pastor with something like you struggle with?
Yeah.
What would be a word of wisdom that, just from your experience?
I have come to learn that God's ultimate goal for us is to be free. When you say that to a pastor, they immediately know whether they're free or not.
Right.
Immediately. You guys, all of us, it's not just pastors, we know. Either we're free, we're living in freedom, or not. We're living in freedom or we're living in performance. It's one or the other. And if we believe that God's ultimate goal for us is to be free, and that's an actual option on the table, that's what I would want guys to hear, is that freedom is possible. It's not easy. It won't be without consequences, but it is possible. And, that's where places like this impact, organizations that are, there's organizations out there. But I think, to my story, the reason I didn't experience freedom is because I never told anybody what was going on in my life. I tried everything else. And living in a place where you're even getting a taste of freedom is like, oh man, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. And so many pastors just can't. They're too afraid to experience it. They want it, but I would just encourage you to continue to pursue it, because it is a real thing. It's there, and you can experience it through grace.
Okay. I'm going to bring up something we didn't talk about.
Sure.
Just as we finish up here.
Sure.
Because you and I have talked about it, and I haven't been there yet, but you got an amazing place that we could get men together to come and hang out for a long weekend. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah. Big Cypress, I recently started a nonprofit, and really this stuff that we're talking about is my goal. I want to create a place for not just pastors, not just ministry leaders, although that's what my heart is attached to, because that's the road I've walked, but for men to be able to disconnect from the world, from the busyness of life, and find rest, find a place where they can relax, and find a place where they can maybe begin to taste freedom a little bit through conversation. So, I'm just recently started it, and I'm so excited about it. Already, working on it, and I've had a couple of guys join me down there, and it's been incredible. It's just
so what is it? Where's it at? Like,
it's down. It's in. I just started my website a couple of days ago. Just opened a website.
What's the address?
It's called Big Cypress Refuge.
Okay.
It's called Big Cypress Refuge, and again, the goal is to create what we're doing here, without the lights and the mics and everything, but to create a place where men can come and be honest, without judgment. And we can be those non-blinking friends for each other, and you can begin. My goal is to just get a taste, allow men to get a taste of what it's like to say what's going on in their minds, experience that, and realize, oh, yeah, this is what I need to pursue this in my life.
And is it here in Florida?
It's in South Florida, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's in South Florida, and ultimately, like I said, my goal is to create a place where guys can come and be free, begin to experience freedom.
Is it like a camp or?
It's a camp.
Yeah. Okay.
Right in the middle of the Everglades.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have to airboat in, or can you
airboat
actually drive?
in, swamp buggy, the whole thing, man.
Okay.
Big adventure. If you guys know me, I'm an adventure guy.
You are.
I'm an adventure guy.
Is it
So it's a
tents?
combination of it's a camp, it's a cabin.
Okay.
Yeah. I love adventure. So it's kind of a combination of wild adventure and also very comfortable, rest.
So you can be wild all day, but then get to the AC
That's
at
right.
night.
That's
That
right.
sounds
Air
awesome.
condition.
Go catch
Get
some
away from the
pythons.
bugs.
Hey,
Catch some pythons.
This Python wrangle is going on right now, I think.
Gators. Yeah.
Yep.
All kinds of stuff. So it's I'm excited to see what happens with it.
wait.
I'm excited to pour my heart into it. That's really where this stuff that we're talking about it's a road that I've walked, and not working, not a pastor anymore, not working at a church, but my heart is still with guys who are trapped.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
As it develops, I'm 100% in.
Thanks.
To walk arm in arm with you, create some events or opportunities for a lot of us that are in Florida to get down there.
That's right.
And I can't wait to check out the new website.
Yeah.
You're
Big
a
Cypress
webmaster
Refuge.
now.
Yeah.
So say the name of it one more time.
Big Cypress Refuge.
Big Cypress Refuge.
It's at bigcypressrefuge.com.
.com and .org. Yep.
And
So I can't wait.
Check it out.
Can you get out of a python's grip as a man?
I'm
I
not
think the
scared of
five
them.
of us
You're
ought to
not-
go down there and try it.
Okay.
Yeah, dude.
I think we ought to
I
try
want
it.
to try it.
no, I'd grab one by the tail in a heartbeat. I have no.
Road trip.
I used to have one.
You used to have a python?
We used to have red
that
tail
code?
boas and Burmese pythons.
That's the way those guys do it, man. I've seen them down there. They're in the backs of these in the back of a truck. They see a snake and they jump out and just
you just grab
that
whatever
sucker.
part you can get a hold of.
That's
Yeah.
Not me.
I've not done it.
I'll
Florida
watch
man.
you, but not me.
I've not done it in the
I've not
wild,
done
but like
it.
I said, I used to own
Right,
them. And
right.
I will say, when they bite you, it's not that bad.
I want to do it, man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I want to
No
experience
big
that.
deal. So it's not that bad.
It's so fast. You just have blood come out.
Show us.
The
Just
grip.
show us.
Don't they get you in the coil?
It would take a 20-foot python to take you down.
That's what's down there, dude.
You don't let it get to that point, dude. You don't just sit there and go, oh.
Your average python
starting
is
to
not
wrap me
20 feet. I mean, come on. Yeah, I mean, you're going to... The
would be a
anaconda would
fun
scare me
crew.
more than the python.
There
Yeah.
you go.
What we need to do is we'll do a podcast episode down there.
That'd be
In the
great.
Everglades.
We'll
In
pack,
the
we'll
Everglades.
pack it
Yeah.
up.
I'm in.
We'll bring it down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's start working on that.
I'd love to have you guys.
That'd be awesome.
All right, cool.
Another amazing time with a very special friend, very special guest, Clint. Thanks for joining us, brother.
Thank you for having me.
A lot of cool things going on as the fall is coming through. Those of you that are on the email newsletter list, we're going back to Juarez, Mexico for our mission trip, October 11th through 18th. We're going to have the first of 2 Zoom calls coming up pretty soon. Go to our website, click on our email, impactmen@impactministries.org. If you're wanting to be one of the 20 men that are going to go make a difference in a very poverty-stricken area, Michael and I went last year. I'm going to recruit some big guns this year, maybe to come with
good
us.
luck.
So, come on. And,
it's not me you got to get down there. It's my wife. Yeah. She hears Juarez and me. That's not happening.
Come on, we're gonna do it.
I would love to hear what you guys do down there.
Okay, we'll send you a video. Also, August 23rd, one of our local churches in the area, Church at Vieira, is going to be hosting a men's breakfast featuring our old friend Ali Farhadi. Born a proud Muslim in Iran and had a radical encounter with Jesus, and now preaches the word all over the country and really focuses on the Muslim community. And there's so much happening in the Muslim community turning to Christ right now. The dreams and visions thing is real. And I'm reading more and more about Muslims who are having those type of experiences and understanding who Jesus is.
You know the second best thing that happens to a Muslim that finds Christ?
What?
Bacon.
Yeah.
Yes. Bacon. Bring the bacon. But you can check out the website. You can register to go to that breakfast August 23rd. And then we got some other things that are coming up. I might even be putting the finishing touches on another Grace experience or 2 for 2027, but more to come on that. So
27?
26. Not
Okay.
bad. I'm a year ahead of myself.
Let's not give a year up.
Not a full
You're way
year
too
and a
late in
half,
life to give a year up.
in any case, great time together today for episode 173. Two? Hard to believe we've been doing this.
That's wild.
For
Yeah.
Good for you
man.
guys.
4 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Good
and
for
we're
you
finally
guys.
starting to figure out some things on social media to get a lot
job.
more views and stuff. So, but we would love it for you to send us a note, give us a like, follow, share. It doesn't cost you a dime. And if you want to help us crush Satan with your monetary gift, just click on the give button on the website. So, with that said, let's go home. I'm Trey.
I'm Mike.
I'm Brad.
I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Clint.
And we are the
Cussin Christians.
Nice. Come on. Nice.
The hell I
Way to
want.
go. The hell I want. Yeah. Way to go.
Yeah, man.
Dude, I love that you're down the Everglades.
Oh, dude.
Dude, I love
How
the
close
swamp.
to Alligator Alcatraz? Are you?
I was going to ask that, too.
I didn't want to.
Alligator
Close.
Oh, okay.
Really close.
Nice.
Yeah, some of it, because of where I am, I can't, I